in the spirit of democracy and inclusivity, what role would the other political parties be playing in this? Because obviously Sierra Leone doesn't just have the SLPP and the APC, but a bulk of the conversation is centered around the APC and the SLPP.
Sure.
What about the other political parties?
So I think first and foremost, we work with those who are holding office in government, whether at the local or the national level. And the people of Sierra Leone elected the APC and the SLPP to the vast majority of those positions. To the extent that we have independent local councilors that are still out there, we'll certainly be engaging with them. We'll certainly be engaging with councilors who represent other political parties in the power structures at the local and district levels. And as I say, we want to be very closely engaged with communities as we move forward, particularly in those areas where large construction is going to happen. So we'll be talking with the full range of community activists. Many of those may belong to other political parties. We'll also be engaging, I think, very importantly with the traditional leadership structures, given the important role that the paramount chiefs and other parts of that leadership structure play in Sierra Leonean life.
We have used the tripartite, and sort of as well the US government has used the MCC to sort of get the political actors come on board to do the right thing. But the genesis of this problem stems from elections disagreement, which is not a new thing in Sierra Leone, but it seems to be growing. Sierra Leone and other parts of the world as well, where elections results are strongly contended by the losing side. Have we adequately addressed the problems that led to the 2023 elections result issues? Because while 2027 may seem far, it's really just around the corner.
Yeah.
And if we don't fix things, it's going to escalate, get worse than it is. Yeah. Have we addressed the fundamental problem that led to the elections issues?
If we move forward with the recommendations that are in the tripartite report, my answer to that will be yes. International experts were very much involved in working with the two political parties' representatives to the Commission in determining exactly what were the root causes of the disagreement. Why did we not have clarity as to the results? Why did people not have faith in the results? And they've made a number of, I think, very serious recommendations that will significantly increase the credibility of the results to the public when they are announced. There's a number of recommendations that deal with the need to ensure more transparency in the result tabulation process, more transparency in the local level results, making sure that you don't have the ability for individuals to do any sort of manipulation around that counting and tabulation process. So I think the safeguards that are built into the Tripartite Committee's recommendations will have a very positive impact on your electoral system going forward. Will it solve every possible problem that could arise over time is difficult to say. Even in the United States, we still have disputes and changes to electoral law as we go through every electoral cycle. The value of what the tripartite has done, I think, is in strengthening institutions so that they can deal with those disputes effectively, making sure that the public has greater faith and the parties have greater faith in the institutions that have been established. I think we've seen since 2002, really, the first post-war elections, a series of electoral recommendations that have been made by domestic and international observers, some of which have been made multiple times and have never been acted on. And what the Tripartite Committee did was to take those and actually put them forward and say, we need to legislate these. We need to ensure that these recommendations are acted on, because this is why we keep having repeated problems. And when you have repeated problems, they just grow worse and worse and worse because faith dies in the electoral system.
What happens if along the line, now we've signed the MCC, but if along the line the US government feels like, notices, or is given the impression that we as a nation, Sierra Leone, is no longer committed to implementing the recommendations in the tripartite?
Yeah, so the MCC eligibility requirements are very clear that there has to be consistent democratic progress within a country for them to remain eligible. In Sierra Leone's case, the Tripartite Committee Recommendations, the Agreement for National Unity, really are the crux of what has allowed MCC over time to see that forward movement. So I don't believe we're going to reach that stage. I'd be very surprised if we reach that
But what
stage.
if we do?
But if we do,
Dealing with politicians, anything's possible.
if we do, the MCC Compact includes provisions that allow for the United States government to suspend implementation and assistance if we believe that Sierra Leone has failed to sustain eligibility requirements. So that is a possibility, not one I think we're likely to get to, but as you're right, there are cases where it's had to be invoked. After the coup d'etat in Niger and in Burkina Faso, for example, we had to suspend their MCC compacts because we could not continue to find that they met the eligibility requirements. Now, I hope and I believe that we won't get there in Sierra Leone, but those provisions are always built into the compact agreements.